So many Republicans, including the president's campaign manager, are saying that Biden's comments last night about transitioning away from oil is the nail in the coffin for battleground states like Pennsylvania. Do you agree with their assessment?
Well, I think it's one of many. I think there's no question that the president had his best debate night, probably of any of the debates he's participated in the general election. I think Joe Biden had a very bad night. He was not on his game. He stumbled around a lot, and he made some pretty devastating comments. And to your point, in battleground states, yes, I think this has a huge impact in Pennsylvania. I think it has an impact in Florida. I think it certainly has an impact in Texas. Joe Biden was never going to win Texas, but there's a lot of House candidates, Republican candidates for House and State House, and Democrats that are today having to run away from Joe Biden's comments. I'll give you a perfect example. I actually live in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And Kendra Horn represents the 5th Congressional District. She immediately last night put out a statement trying to separate herself from a presidential candidate. But she can't do that because she's endorsed him, she's campaigned for him, and now she's in a situation where she's going to have to run away from him. You could probably find 10 to 20 more House seats like that. And so I think what it does is it certainly helps the president in some of those battleground states, but it also helps people like Cory Gardner because the oil and gas industry is huge in Colorado, and he's in a tight race with Governor Hickenlooper. And this is precisely the opening he needed to be able to jump back in front. And I think it was a devastating comment from Biden. Maybe not necessarily for his campaign. It was hurtful to his campaign, but it was devastating to a lot of down ballot Democrats that have now got to spend the next 10 days running away from their presidential nominee.
And something very interesting is this was a more substantive debate, and we saw that the moderator, Kristen Welker, there's a lot of concerns given her past history as donating to Democrats, celebrating Christmas at the Obama White House with the Obamas, the president and the first lady. However, she did a fairly good job, though she did interrupt the president. Some estimates say 24 times, where she only interrupted Joe Biden about 2 times. However, more or less, more fair than what we've seen at least. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. And you do have to the referees call the whistle on a team that runs the fast break a lot more than they call the whistle on a team that runs 4 corners. And I think that's what we're looking at there. Yes, she interrupted the president more often, but he was on his game. He was coming after Biden. He wasn't going to let Biden lie. He wasn't going to let him get away with making false statements. I mean, Biden tried to say he had never called for a ban on fracking. That's patently untrue. Really, Welker probably should have called Biden out on that, but the president jumped in and did it. So it's those sorts of exchanges I think that caused the president to be interrupted more. But I do want to point out that I think Welker did a good job, and I think compared to the other debates we have seen, whether it be his past debate against Biden or even the vice presidential debate or debates 4 years ago between him and Clinton, I think Welker has moved to the top of the list in terms of future moderators. That if I was working for a Republican running for president, I would be happy to have her as a moderator based on the job she did.
We see the president bringing back his campaign ideas from 2016, that he's the outsider coming into Washington to make a change. He brought that back again last night on the debate stage, and he really went after Biden for his lack of achievements, a lack of a strong track record after 47 years in office, not a whole lot to show for. Do you think that's really resonating with a lot of voters when they saw that?
I do. I think it reminds voters of why they voted for him in 2016. He was this outsider running against Hillary Clinton, the ultimate insider. And since then, let's face it, he became the insider. He became the insider because he's president of the United States. That's kind of the ultimate insider, right? And so it caused a lot of these voters that had evaluated him in 16 as the person who was going to come in and drop a hand grenade right in the middle of the swamp and send all the nasty stuff out of there, and reminded them of that moment. I mean, I thought one of his most effective lines he's had over the course of the last few weeks is, you had 47 years to do it, and I've done more than that in 47 months. And telling Joe Biden, I ran for president because you did such a bad job. One, I know that really had to hurt both Joe Biden and Barack Obama, but it also reminded voters again that Donald Trump is not from Washington. And we should probably be reminded that every time he sends out a tweet. But it's those tweets and his style, which has turned off a lot of suburban voters. Statistically speaking, we have to admit that as Republicans and understand it. But this reminds them of why they voted for him in the first place. And I'll tell you, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas has a great line. He said, I may not agree with or like all of Donald Trump's tweets either, but I'm not going to destroy America because of that. And I think that last night it reminded voters of why they supported Donald Trump in 2016 and why he's the ultimate outsider. And I thought he was on his message, and he wasn't debating or trying to fight over things that weren't going to make a difference.